Now we're talking about the pretonsillar abscess, or quinsy is also called. It is the correct collection of the pus in the peritonsillar space, a space which lies between the capsule of the tonsil and the superior constrictor muscle. You can see here, I'm showing a little bit about this peritonsillar abscess. You can see here about the, you know, the capsule of the tonsil. Okay, you can see find some the pretonsillar, fascia. It's here. It's the capsule of the tonsils. Okay, you can see here some space, vitropharyngeal space. There's some space between the superior constrictor muscles and the capsules. Here is some space, but you should have not cleared about this space. I'm showing you another pic about this. Now you can see clearly about the pretonsillar space. It is the between this capsule of the tonsils. It is the capsule of the tonsils. You can see it's the capsule of the tonsils and the superior constrictor muscle. This is the superior constrictor muscle. Okay. Now where is the pretonsillar space? This is fetish, yellowish color, known as the pretonsillar space, which is the infection of this pretonsillar abscess, which is known as the quinsy is also called. You can see here the pretonsillar space. They had some platoglossus muscle as well, and triangular folds, of the there are some crypts and mucosa and plantaropharyngeal muscles as well. Okay. Now, what is the etiology of the peritonsillar space? Usually, they follows acute tonsillitis, though it may arise without any previous history of sore throat. Okay, first one of the crypts, the crypta magna, get infected and seal off. Then the forms is intratonsillar abscess, which then bursts through the tonsillar capsule to set up the peritonsillitis and then abscess, which means that when form the intratonsillar abscess, they have shown you some, sorry for that. You can see it's the tonsil. There's some crypts of tonsil. This is the capsule. Okay, here the superior constrictor muscle. Here the space of the tonsillar space. When they form the intratonsillar abscess, okay, what intratonsillar space? The abscess is inside the tonsils. When they set up the tonsillitis, okay, they have infection of the tonsillitis, then they burst like that, because this capsule will be the denatured. Then this abscess will be, backward into the which enter into the tonsillar space. That's why this peritonsillar abscess is a complication of the acute tonsillitis as well. Now, pus culture which shows the growth of the streptococcus as well, and the pathogens, aereus, anaerobic organisms, they are most common in these, tonsillitis. The more often the growth is mixed with both aerobic and anaerobic organism. Now, clinical features are mostly affects adults than children. Okay, it is usually unilaterally, occasionally, and bilateral abscess are recorded, and it is divided into the general and the local clinical features of the pretonsillar abscess. And what are the general features? It is due to the septicemia, which are the fever up to the 104 degrees Fahrenheit, the chills and the rigor, the general malaise, the body aches, headache, nausea, constipation. Now, what are the local symptoms? This severe throat pain, usually unilateral, and adenophagia as well. The hot potato voice, like muffled and thick speech, and full breath due to the sepsis in the oral cavity and poor hygiene, and ipsilateral earache as well, and the trismus. Some examination in the tonsil, the palate, and the soft plate on the involved sides are the congested and swollen, because you can see here the tonsils and some breaking up the, and this abscess is collected in the pretonsillar space. There will be soft plate on the which may be the congested and swollen, and tonsils may not appear enlarged as it buried in the edematous pallets. The uvula is swollen and edematous and pushed back into the opposite side, and bulging of the soft plate anterior pillar above the tonsils. I'm showing you about. You can see here it's the pretonsillar abscess. Has can soft plate also infected. Uvula is also infected. You can see the normal uvula and the pretonsillar uvula. There's some inflammation here the uvula, but you can see here the normal. There's no inflammation. You can see here some complications and some pretonsillar abscess. This is the right tonsil. This is the left tonsil, very inflamed. The uvula is also displaced. It is the serious condition of the pretonsillar abscess. Very difficult to swallowing, difficulty to breathing. It is very dangerous if it is untreated. You can see here some about soft plates, roof of the mouth, and some tonsils, uvula without abscess. You can see with abscess, pretonsillar abscess, the uvula and soft plates are the very sore and abscess formed. The mucus may also be seen covering the tonsil region, and cervical lymphadenopathies are commonly seen. This involves the jugulo-digastric lymph node and torticollis, which is the patient keeps the neck tilted to the side of the abscess. Now, what is the treatment? Hospitalization is main in the intravenous fluids to combat dehydration, antibiotics to cover both aerobic and anaerobic organisms, analgesics, and oral hygiene as well. If the frank abscess has formed, incision, the drainage will be required. Okay. The interval tonsillectomy, if tonsils are removed 4 to 6 weeks the following the attack of the quinsy. Okay, and the abscess or the hard tonsillectomy, it has this risk of the rupture of the abscess during the anesthesia and excessive bleeding at the time of the operation. Here some are the complications of the pretonsillar abscess. The rare with this modern therapy, the parapharyngeal abscesses as well occur. The oedema of the larynx, the tracheostomy may be required. The septicemia, the pneumonitis of the lung abscess, and jugular vein thrombosis and the spontaneous hemorrhage from carotid artery or the jugular vein. It is all about the pretonsillar abscess. Now start about the retropharyngeal abscess. The retropharyngeal abscess, you can see had some in the retropharyngeal space. Any abscess in the retropharyngeal space is known as the retropharyngeal abscess. Now it will be the acute and it will be the chronic. An acute retropharyngeal abscess is commonly seen in the children below 3 years. It's a result of supposition of the retropharyngeal lymph node is secondary to the infection in the adenoid nasopharynx and posterior nasal sinuses or the nasal cavity. In adults, it may be result from the penetration injury of the posterior pharyngeal wall or cervical esophagus. Rarely pus from the acute mastoiditis tracks along the under surface of the petrous bone to present as the retropharyngeal abscess. Now you can see here the retropharyngeal lymph nodes. Okay, these retropharyngeal lymph nodes they can become the suppuration of the retropharyngeal lymph nodes. Okay, the secondary to the infection in the adenoids or maybe the nasopharynx or maybe to the posterior nasal sinuses or nasal cavity. Then these complications treated, which is known as the acute retropharyngeal abscess. These lymph nodes, you can see, these lymph nodes are burst, okay, into the retropharyngeal space. Then the retropharyngeal space, these bursts and these form the fluid in the retropharyngeal space. This is known as the acute retropharyngeal abscess. Now, what are the clinical features of the acute retropharyngeal abscess? This may be dysphagia, okay, difficulty in breathing, as the prominent symptom as the abscess obstructs the air and food passages. The stridor and croupy cough may be present. The stridor means the obstruction of any respiratory tract voice and hoarseness of voice, and the cropping of means is also hoarseness of the voice, because the some obstruction of the airways and torticollis and bulge in the posterior pharyngeal wall. Okay, some radiograph of the soft tissue and lateral view of the neck shows that the widening of the prevertebral shadow and possibly even the presence of gas as well. Treatment is by the incision and the drainage of the abscess. This is usually done without any anesthesia, as there is a risk of rupture of abscess during intubation. Okay, without any means anesthesia, because there is risk of the rupture of the abscess. Child is kept supine with the head below. Okay, with the head below, as you can see, with head below in the supine. Now, with the head below, mouth is open with a gag. Okay, mouth is open with a gag. This is the mouth. Here the gag. Mouth is open. Okay. Then what happened? A vertical incision is given in the most frequent area of the abscess. Okay, this section should always be available to prevent the aspiration of the pus. If done under GA, the care should be taken that the abscess does not rupture during the intubation with the aspiration of pus. The pharynx is always pegged. Aspiration for an abscess can be done before incision to break the pressure in the abscess and gush of the pus. Systemic antibiotics are also given, which is suitable antibiotics are given, and tracheostomy is also done because the large abscess may have caused the mechanism to obstruct the airway to lead the, because airway or the lead to the laryngeal edema as well. That's why the tracheostomy becomes mandatory in these cases. Now talking about the chronic retropharyngeal abscess is known as the perivertebral abscess as well. It is the tubercular in nature. Okay, tubercular theories of cervical span, the present centrally. The tubercular infection of the retropharyngeal lymph node secondary to tuberculosis to deep cervical lymph node, limited to on one side of the midline. Okay. Now you can see here some what is the perivertebral space. This you can see here. This is the perivertebral space between the cervical vertebrae and the perivertebral fascia. Now some etiology you can see the tuberculosis of the cervical lymph nodes. Okay, the abscess ruptured through the perivertebral fascia. You can see ruptured through the perivertebral fascia. Then this abscess reaches into the pharynx, into the retropharyngeal space. Here, retropharyngeal abscess, because it is the complication, we can say it's complication of the TB, tuberculosis. Okay, tuberculosis of the cervical lymph node vertebrae, then abscess rupture through the prevertebral fascia, then they reaches into the pharynx, into the retropharyngeal space. What are the clinical features of the chronic retropharyngeal abscess? Which is the discomfort in throat. Okay, because due to the bulging abscess formation, there will be obstruction of the airways as well. Okay, and dysphagia is not marked. Okay, you can see here dysphagia is through the present but not marked, not very well as compared to the acute. And posterior pharyngeal wall shows the frequent swelling centrally or on one side of the midline. Okay, it means that it may be in midline or maybe at the one side of the midline. This neck may show the tubercular lymph nodes. Now, what is the treatment? It may give the incision and the drainage as well. It can be done through the vertical incision along the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. Okay, or the low abscess for the low abscess, or along its posterior border for the high doses, for high abscess. Okay, we should to insist of sternocleidomastoid if the low abscess at the interior border of the clinomastoid muscle if the abscess is the low at the interior border. Okay, if the high abscess, then we can insist is the posterior border of the stenochleidomastoid muscle. And some anti-tubercular therapy as well should be given in the cases of the tubercular abscess. Now some study about the parapharyngeal abscess. It is etiology is the main acute and chronic infection of tonsils and adenoid bursting of the peritonsillar abscess and teeth usually from the lower last molar tooth. Okay, from the ear, the basal abscess or the pityositis. Other spaces like infections of parotid, retropharyngeal and submaxillary space. Some external trauma as well due to the penetrating injuries of the neck, injection of the local anesthetic for tonsillectomy or mandibular nerve block. You can see it is the parapharyngeal abscess, it is the retropharyngeal abscess, it is the prevertebral space, it is the parapharyngeal space. Oh, it here. This is the parapharyngeal abscess. It may have the interior compartment, it is posterior compartment. Okay. Now, what are the clinical features of the parapharyngeal abscess? It depends upon the compartment involved. It may be interior or may be posterior. The steroid process and the muscles are attached to divide by parapharyngeal space into interior and posterior compartment. Okay. You can see steroid muscles which divide the parapharyngeal space into the interior compartment and the posterior compartment. The interior compartment is related to the tonsillar fossa medially and medial pterygoid muscle laterally. Okay, an interior compartment produces a triad of symptoms like prolapse of tonsil and tonsillar fossa, trismus, and external swelling behind the angle of the jaw. But posterior compartment is very dangerous because it produces a lot of symptoms, which is so in the posterior compartment pass carotid artery, jugular vein, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th cranial nerves as well, and sympathetic trunk also contains upper deep cervical nodes. It communicates with the retropharyngeal, submandibular, parotid, carotid and visceral. And the posterior compartment involved to produce the bulging of the pharynx behind the posterior palate, the paralysis of the 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th and sympathetic chain, okay, a swelling of the parotid region and minimum trismus or tonsillar prolapse as well. And you can see the fever, odynophagia, sore throat, torticollis, and signs of toxemia are most common to the both compartments. Okay, the treatment is the systemic antibiotics as well and drainage of the abscess because systemic antibiotics weaken the intravenous antibiotics like to combat the infection, and antibiotics should be able to affect the both aerobic and anaerobic organisms. And antibiotics selected for the treatment are amoxicillin, clavulanic acid. We can see augmentin as the best treatment for the metronidazole is also given, and gentamicin is useful for the gram negative bacteria, and the sensitivity of antibiotic should be determined the selection of antibiotic. And drainage abscess is usually done under the general anesthesia. Okay, if the trismus is marked, then the preoperative tracheostomy becomes mandatory. Okay, the abscess is drained by the horizontal incision. That was the vertical incision, but here the horizontal incision. Okay, the made 2 to 3 centimeter below the angle of the mandible. The blunt dissection along the incision inner surface of the medial pterygoid muscle towards the stellate process is carried out, and abscess evacuated. The drain is inserted. Okay, the trans-oral drainage should never be done due to the danger of the injury to the great vessels which pass through this space. This is all about the parapharyngeal abscess. Now, masticator space. What is the masticator space? It's between the two layers of the deep cervical fascia and superficial bilateral layers which covers the mesotro and temporalis muscles, while deep layer covers medial and lateral pterygoid muscle medially. Now it consists of the three spaces: the mesotrochic space, temporal space and the pterygomandibular space. You can see something about the mesenteric space. This is the mesenteric space, okay, and the another is the pterygomandibular space. It is the pterygomandibular space, okay, and the another space is the mesenteric space and the temporal space. The temporal space, where is the temporal space? Because this is the deep temporal space. These are three openings, or we can say spaces. Mesenteric space, this is the mesenteric space, okay. This is the pterygomandibular space. This is the temporal space as well, okay. And this mesenteric space, which consists of the includes the mesenteric muscle, medial and dental pterygoid muscles, temporalis muscle, okay, the ramus and posterior part of the mandible as well, the maxillary artery, and this is inferior alveolar branch and inferior alveolar nerve as well. It communicates with the parotid and the parapharyngeal axis. This is all about the mesenteric space. So thank you for this watching videos of head and neck space infections.